Canada may be considering immigration target revisions as housing crisis persisits. Canada may revise its immigration targets as it continues to struggle with a growing housing crisis. The country aims to welcome 465,000 new permanent residents in 2023, 485,000 in 2024 and 500,000 in 2025. Canada's Housing Minister, Sean Fraser, has highlighted the need for a balanced approach to immigration policy, acknowledging the need to consider changes while maintaining a commitment to high immigration levels. Fraser emphasized on aligning immigration policies with the absorptive capacity of communities, including factors like housing, healthcare, and infrastructure, reflects a practical approach to addressing the issues at hand. This approach recognizes that immigration should be managed in a way that doesn't overwhelm existing resources and services. Sean Fraser also floated the idea of capping how many students Canada lets in from abroad as a way to help tackle the country's inflated housing costs. Canada accepted a record number of international students in 2022, more than 800,000, a 75% increase from 5 years ago. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation found that Canada needs 3.5 million more housing units, on top of what's already being built, to restore housing affordability. A report by TD Economics released in the summer found that Canada's current level of immigration would only widen the housing shortfall over the next 2 years. For many in Canada, the struggle to pay their mortgage or rent is a persistent reality. The average home price in Canada was around $750,000 Canadian dollars, $550,000, pound $435,000, as of August. That represents an increase of 360% from the year 2000, when the average was $163,000 Canadian dollars. The issue is especially acute in large cities like Toronto, where a six-figure annual income is needed to afford a house. Houses now typically sell for more than $1 million Canadian dollars in Toronto and Vancouver. Both are often ranked among the world's top 10 most unaffordable places to live in, according to the Demographia International Housing Affordability Index, ranking alongside cities like Hong Kong and San Francisco. Rent is also becoming more expensive in Canada's major cities. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto is $2,500 Canadian dollars, a 25% increase from last year. In recent years, those living in smaller cities across Canada have begun to feel the crunch, too. It appears to me to be a sign of desperation. Immigrants have always been blamed for the housing crisis. Look back 100 years and people were against building boarding houses because they were scared of foreigners moving in and endangering their families. Nowadays, politicians are blaming foreign investors for housing shortages, too. I'm very impatient about people pointing fingers at immigrants for the housing crisis, because it has very little to do with immigration and a lot to do with government policy. Last month, a survey by Ottawa-based Abacus Data showed 61% of respondents believed Canada's immigration target is too high, and 63% of them said the number of immigrants coming to the country was having a negative impact on housing. What's driving this is really rational concerns, not xenophobia. From many people's perspective, the growth that Canada experienced hasn't been matched with an increase in infrastructure. It's putting a strain on public opinion toward immigration more broadly. We'd be foolish to assume that Canada's immune to the same forces that have affected other countries.